3 Hebrew men who lived in Israel. They were abducted and taken from Israel to Babylon by King
Nebuchadnezzar.
Decreed was to select the most intelligent, strongest, and handsome young man to reside in the king's court. The king forced name changes on the 3 Hebrew men, renaming them
Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego.
The 3 Hebrew men were forced to enroll in a 3-year educational program to study the king's language and law. Throughout their training, the 3 Hebrew men continued to trust, follow, and obey their God while carefully still serving the king. One day, a 90-foot gold statue of the king himself was built, and he commanded all the people to assemble for its dedication. The king declared that all individuals of all nationality, ethnically, and languages were required to bow down and worship the statue upon hearing the sound of music. Anyone who refused will be punished by being cast into the fiery furnace. However, the 3 Hebrew men were known their God is the one and true God, and they refused to bow down to anyone but him. The music started, and everyone bowed down to the statue and worshipped it, except for the 3 Hebrew men. Some wise men of Babylon witnessed this and reported it to the king, informing him that the 3 Hebrew men refused to bow down to the statue in worship. This upset the king, who demanded from the 3 Hebrew men, "Is this true?" They admitted to the king that it is indeed true. The king granted them one last opportunity to worship to the statue, and warning them that failure to comply would result being cast into the fiery furnace. The 3 Hebrew men remained steadfast in their refusal and did not defend themselves. They assured to the king that their God they worship would save them from the fiery furnace and deliver them from their majestic power. However, they made it clear to the king that even if he chose not to save them, they would never worship his statue that he created. The king was so outraged towards the 3 Hebrew men, he commanded the fiery furnace to be heated 7 times hotter than normal and to tie them up and cast them into the fire. The fire was so hot that it killed the king's soldier who cast the Hebrew men into the flames. The king suddenly saw 4 men walking around freely in the fire and unharmed. The king questioned his advisor, "Did we cast in 3 men into the flames?" His advisor affirmed this. The king stated, "I behold a 4th man in the fire walking about, and he resembled a son of God, protecting these Hebrew men from the flames." King ordered the 3 Hebrew men to come out of the fire, and they stepped out unbound, unburnt, and free of any smoky smell. The king prayed to the God of the 3 Hebrew men who saved them from the fire. He encouraged himself to issue a decree to pray and worship the one true God of the Hebrew men, and stated that anyone who spoke against their God would be punished severely. The 3 Hebrew men's faith, their God was rock solid, and they were willing to lay down their lives for him. When men's law conflicts God's law, we should always obey God's law. Even if it will cost us our lives, always choose God because He is always with us. We can either choose to fear God or fear man. It is only God who can kill the soul. The king then promoted the 3 Hebrew men to his court. Wow.